You did your research.
We tried.
Graham, you dog. My mom comes in and she's like, oh, let me get it. It's okay. And I'm like, don't touch the water. Don't touch the water. Like I wouldn't have this career if I wasn't hit by that cement truck.
You can't remember a time where the leg born in pain, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because in my head, I was like, don't, you're a bright shooting star, you know, and in his head, I was like, what's up, Danny? Nice to meet you. Look at me, baby, I made it.
Tell about your imaginary friend, Sneaky, growing up.
Graham, you start off with the hard-hitting cues. That's what I like about you. Sneaky was my childhood imaginary friend that my mom said. I kind of remember it, but I was like 4, I want to say. And essentially, I put on like some glasses and came out and was like, I'm not Adam, I'm Sneaky. I live across the way. And Adam's actually over there. My mom was like, okay, Sneaky. And then I just was all day long I would like eat different foods. And I'm like, ew, I don't like ham sandwiches. I'm a mustard sandwich type of guy. I'm Sneaky. And then she's like, all right. And then it'd be the end of the night. And she would be like, okay, time for a bath. And I'm like, don't touch me. You're not my mom. I don't take baths. I have my own mom and I take baths with her, okay? I don't take baths with you. You're a stranger. I'm Sneaky. And she's like, go get Adam then, because he's disgusting. He needs to take a bath.
Well, okay, one time you did. You had the toe.
Oh, man.
By the way, I told you I was going to ask you about some of this. You had a bit of a sexually charged adolescence, but what boy has not?
Yeah, well, I like we're talking about jerking off minute 2, Graham. My God. Yeah, so, I mean, this was one of the first times I masturbated, and it was, you know, it's a pretty epic event when you figure it out. You're like, I could do this all the time. And I had a bad accident when I was a kid. So to preface, I was hit by a cement truck as a kid. So I broke all the bones in my legs. I had horrible, like it took the skin off. So I had one toe that they're like, it could fall off or it could stabilize and you have a toe. We don't know. So I'm in the bathtub and I couldn't stand because of my accident. And I just found masturbation, and oh, did I love it, Graham. And so I'm cranking down, and it was the first time something had come out, and I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And, but it's floating in the water. I'm like, oh, this is gross. And as I'm trying to like get it to dissipate, you know what I'm talking about, Graham.
Well, not when the toe.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm dissipating the
jizz.
The jizz. And I'm doing that, and I see a little toe, my pinky toe, just floating in the bathtub.
And you're thinking, what?
I'm thinking that I jerked off so hard my toe fell off. Because that's essentially what happened. And my mom came in. I was like, oh, my toe. And my mom comes in, and she's like, oh, let me get it. It's okay. And I'm like, don't touch the water. Don't touch the water. Because of my...
Which I was talking to her yesterday. She had never heard this story before.
Yeah. So she's like, I'm like, don't touch the water. And she's like, I'll get it out. And I didn't want her to get it out because of the
jizz.
Yeah, thank you.
What was the deal with the cowboy boots and the shirt?
Yeah, as a little kid, I would love to. I mean, I was little. I was like probably 2 or something, and I would put on cowboy shirts and walk around my house, or cowboy boots, and walk around my house naked in these like big cowboy boots that don't fit me. And then I would press my little wiener against the TV to feel the shock, because I thought that was exciting. And I'm sure it was.
You had a ton of different jobs growing up, and really kind of hustled quite a bit to get to where
I'm a little bit of a hustler.
So I want to run through some of those and just see what comes to mind. First, Paperboy. Yep. I understand you got creative in figuring out how to make extra money.
Yeah, I was a real thief from the jump. I was a paper boy, and I learned that you could take, like, if you went to one of the paper stands and you put in a quarter, you could open it up and then take all of the newspapers. You could just steal them. So, I'm sure they're just like, why would anyone want more newspapers? You want the one newspaper. Well, I did, because then I would go to the people that that are getting the newspapers, and I'd say, hey, I'll cut you a deal. You can get the newspaper for like half off, but you have to pay cash every month. And they're like, man, that sounds like a good deal. I don't know what kind of deal the newspaper's running, but this is great. And then I'd cancel their subscriptions at the newspaper, and then it'd just take cash from them. And it ended up, you know, my mom, like, Blake, so she's like, I don't remember you doing this, but I'm like, you caught me, and I was in trouble.
What happened?
Well, she was just like, where are you getting all this money? Because I'm like buying stuff. I'm like, I had ring pops on every finger. I was just all laced out with jewels, you know, suckable jewels. So, yeah, I ended up getting caught.
How about your early Jack Nicholson experience?
This is when I was like 14 or 15, and I was working at the grocery store, and they were shooting About Schmidt at the same grocery store that I had worked at. I was excited that Jack Nicholson was shooting a movie there, and they essentially knew that I was like wanted to be an actor or was at least interested in that world, and they were like, you can be an extra, because they want real life extras. I'm like, this is my time to shine. And so they put me in the background. Jack Nicholson's gonna come up, he's gonna buy a gallon of milk or just take the gallon of milk and walk away. It's like a very easy scene. But I'm like stocking yogurt in the back, and I keep like inching out to like find the camera, you know? I always knew how to find the camera. And they're like, cut, hey, so if for any extra, just know that this isn't Jack Nicholson, there's no movie being shot here, so don't try to be on camera more. And he's like being very nice and talking to all the extras. Meanwhile, I'm like the only guy in the background. And so they call action again, and I do the same thing, but I cheat out, and I just am stacking yogurts like this. And then they're like, hey, you're doing great. We're gonna have you work over here. And I'm like, I've been spotted. They know my talent, they've seen it. And now basically I'm gonna get Jack Nicholson's role in the movie probably. But they were like, you're gonna stack shelves over here. And then I'm stacking shelves over there, being like, where's the camera at? I know they're gonna spot me at some point. And meanwhile, they just shot the movie over here, and I'm just doing work.
Why did you once get fired as a camera salesman?
I don't know if I wanted to get fired. I did get fired because I drank too much water, they said. That was
You drank too much water?
Yeah, it was kind of a break.
Okay.
So there was like a water fountain on the other side of the building. So you could walk over there and drink water and then walk back. And I would do that like 35 times a day just to like take a break and not sell tripods. And then I did, and then it was Cal's camera in Newport Beach, and they were like, Cal called me and he's like, you're fired. And I'm like, totally understand. I respect your decision. And then his daughters who worked for him were like, he's a good kid, give him a shot. And so they call back and they're like, hey, we're gonna offer you your job back. And I go, you know what? I don't think so. I'm gonna pursue my comedy career, so I will not be taking my job back. And they laughed so hard.
Really?
Over the phone. He thought that was the funniest thing, and he's like, okay, good luck, kid. Like, I was giving you your job back, but good luck following your comedy dream. So where are you now, Cal? Where are you now? Look at me, baby, I made it. Although these are some nice tripods, I will say that. I noticed them when you guys were setting those up.
Why would you change accents when selling steak knives?
I did a lot of telemarketing as a kid. Sold vacation packages over the phone. I would sell Time Life books and other magazines that people don't want. I would sell...
What was the hardest?
Steaks were pretty hard. Like
they were?
Omaha steaks. because everyone always has a full freezer, 100% of the time. They're like, my freezer's full. And you would go, oh no, I completely understand that. And then my trick, I would go, oh yeah, I completely what's this? I'm sorry, hang on one second. No, we can't. Act like I'm talking to somebody off, and we can't, that's impossible. And then I'd take a paper like this, and I go like, into the microphone, and then I come back and I'm like, I'm sorry, they just came from upstairs. There's no upstairs. And they told me that we're doing half off fillets, and I cannot believe we're even offering this right now. There's a one-time deal, 50% off. You'd be a fool not to buy this. Now, does that Visa start with a 4 or 5? And then they're like, it's a 4, man. Give me them fillets.
It would work.
It would work, dude. It's, and also people like to spend money. They do. People are just like, yeah, give me some steaks are kind of cool.
All right, senior year of high school, you get into UCLA, but family can't afford it. How does that affect you at the time?
I couldn't care less.
Oh, you couldn't care less?
No.
Why not?
I didn't even want to go to school.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay, so what are you thinking then?
Well, I was thinking I have to get to California.
Okay.
That was like a path to get to California. And then I was like, I'll go to the community college, and then I'll at least be close to California.
Yeah.
And I chose Orange Coast Community College in Orange County because I watched the movie Orange County with Colin Hanks and Jack Black. And the whole premise of the movie is Colin Hanks wants to go to Stanford and get out of Orange County because it's nothing but hot chicks and stoner dudes. And he's trying to get it. He's more than that. And I'm like, that's all I want to be, is a stoner dude surrounded by hot girls.
Yeah.
And so I went to the community college. And tell you what, man, it was the best decision I ever made because I met Blake.
The water bag fell off.
That's going to need to be touched up.
Yeah.
Whoa, the handle broke in the water bag.
Well,
Yeah, everybody good?
Definitely keep how scared I was.
okay, so you were talking about why you moved to Orange County and Jack Black and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, I was like, I wanted to be the stoner guy that's surrounded by good-looking girls at the community college. I'm like, that's like the dream gig. So then I moved out here, and it was awesome because that's where I met Blake and Kyle, Blake Anderson and Kyle Newacek, who I created Workaholics with, and we met day one of improv class at community college.
And the rest is obviously
And the rest is history.
In what ways do you think Robin Baker impacted your decision to move to LA?
Yeah, she was my high school drama teacher, and it was cool. She was like the first person that was legitimately said that I had it. She was like, you have it. You could go and have a career in LA.
And you're thinking what at the time?
I'm thinking, this lady gets it. I'm like, she's a smart woman. She understands. She sees what I'm bringing. But she also like knew people. Like she had friends in LA. Like her husband's really good friend from high school is Steve Higgins, who's an executive producer, was an executive producer on SNL, and now is an executive producer on The Tonight Show with, Jimmy Fallon.
In that, I understand she had some conversation with your parents that made kind of all the difference in...
Yeah, she essentially told them that I have what it takes and that I could move out. Because I think my mom was like, does he? Like, are we crazy? We think he's funny and talented, but like, are we crazy?
And your dad was more hesitant, right?
Yeah, my mom was always like, he's gonna be a star. Delusional, that lady. But my dad, he's just more of a realist. He was like, well, like, what are the odds? You know, because the odds are crazy.
Yeah.
And my mom kind of instilled in me, and and it's something I believe in. I'm like, why can't it be you?
Right.
Like, someone has to make it. Like, there are people that are working in TV and movies. Like, why can't it be you? It could, you know. Where it's worth giving it a shot, because then I don't want to be an old person and being like selling real estate or whatever I did, you know, and go, I wish I would have taken the leap and actually try to follow my dreams.
Your mom was telling me the other day on the phone she had a bit of a panic attack after they dropped you off in California. I think they made it to about Colorado, and
Yeah.
she like broke down and was like, what are we doing?
Rightfully so. My roommate and I got drunk night one and climbed a fence, and he slipped while climbing the fence, and it was like a metal fence with a sharp point.
Oh, no.
It stabbed him right in the shin and split open his shin, and you could see the bone. We had to go to the emergency room that night one of us getting in town.
The evening at the Improv influenced you how?
Yeah, Evening at the Improv, which was a show on, I think, A&E or something. And it was a stand-up show that my dad and I used to always watch. And especially after my accident, I couldn't walk. I couldn't go play sports or get out of the house or do anything. So my dad and I would just watch stand-up all the time. And it wasn't the great comedians that really inspired me. Like, obviously, they inspired me because they're fantastic and they're super funny. But it was the comics that barely made it on, that weren't that great.
What?
Because I was like, well, I could do that. Like, I can be just okay
And genuinely,
be on TV.
You're thinking that?
Yeah, I was like, you know, I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, and I was like, I can be that funny. Like, that guy's not that good. I could be that level. I don't know if I could be Chris Rock or whoever, you know, but I could be, I don't want to name names, but you know who you are.
What would your dad say?
Nah, my dad he was always like, yeah, you know, you're funny, but you're not that funny. Like, you're not, like, make it on TV funny. And I'm like, you're an idiot, dude.
But that almost weirdly motivated you in
Yeah,
a way,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, I would say, like, just to prove him wrong. He wasn't doing it to be mean. He was just like, in his thought, because we're just people from the Midwest. We've never even been to Los Angeles. Like, we don't know the comedy scene or what it takes or how to actually make it or be a success. So for him, he's like, you're a funny guy, but you're not a stand-up comedian. Like, these people are, like, the funniest in the world. You know, we're come from a funny family, but we're not that. And I think that's what he was trying to say. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, I am.
What do you think you learned from your dad?
Hard work. My dad is a really hard worker. Like, when he worked blue-collar jobs, and he worked for the railroad, which can be a difficult, hard job, taxing, but he never complained about going to work. And he was always like, it's a blessing that I have this job, and I can provide for my family, and would never complain. And I think I took that from him.
And he would be gone for, like, days at a time?
Yeah. Yeah, he was, he'd be gone sometimes for like a couple weeks at a time, and then would come back. And, you know, you were sad as a kid when your dad's leaving, but he'd always try to make it fun. So he would sing this song, Daddy's got to go to work to make a lot of money so he can buy baseball cards and Barbie dolls for his little honeys. And I'm like, yes, baseball cards.
He successfully recovered from a couple different types of cancer he
Yeah,
had.
man, he's...
You, to, like, your credit, like, pull some strings, immediately got him into the #1 cancer, you know, the hospital, got on the other side of that, going through health challenges again. How does the last go-around kind of prepare you for going through it again?
Well, I mean, you just sort of mentally get used to it. I feel when he first was diagnosed, I was on the set of Righteous Gemstones, and I just, like, broke down. I couldn't shoot. I couldn't do anything. Luckily, it was like they waited till the end of the day to call me, and I was on my way home, and then it was like I was off for, like, a long weekend. Like, I think I had 3 or 4 days off. And
brutal few days.
I
You're
was
by yourself.
home alone. I was like, I don't even like red wine, really. I mean, it's fine. I was just like a little wino in my house. I'm all alone. I'm just like chugging red wine. I'm taking baths. I don't take baths. We've established that. I don't take baths. I'm like just taking a bath, drinking red wine, pouring it on myself. It was devastating. And I think I scared my neighbor because we had like a dock. We were in Charleston, South Carolina, and I was on the dock and I was just going, no! And my neighbor's like, these actors, they get emotional. So yeah, that was hard. And then the second time after he'd beat it once, you're like, okay, we can beat it again. And now he's going through some other health issues, and it's the same kind of thing. Like, you know, I think he can beat it again.
When was the first time you realized, beyond it just being a dream, you actually started to enjoy the comedic process?
I was working at the Improv, I think.
Like when you were at the door?
Yeah, I worked at the door from 20 to like 22.
Until somebody told you really shouldn't be doing this
That's
anymore.
right. Yeah, so it kind of all happened pretty fast for me. I was doing open mics and really taking stand-up seriously when I first moved up to Los Angeles from Orange County when I was 20. And I was getting up 5-6 nights a week, as many open mics as I could, and I was working the door at the Improv, and they told me to keep a change of clothes in the car because I was one of the best open micers, and they go, keep a change of clothes in case someone doesn't show up, and then like Sarah Silverman wouldn't show up or Zach Galifianakis wouldn't show up, and then like go kill 5-10 minutes before the next comic shows up. And so it'd be me like, filling like these comedy stars spots. And it went pretty good. Like I did okay. And then I booked the Montreal Comedy Festival, which...
That was a game changer for you.
Huge. Yeah, that's like every major comedian that you know has done the Montreal Comedy Festival at one point. And they call them the new faces of comedy. And they pick like 20 people and they call them the new faces of comedy, and they would do that every year, and it was sort of like a rite of passage. And as soon as you got that, then the industry started to take you seriously. And I got that after like a year and a half of doing stand-up, which maybe was too quick, but...
Why, looking back, do you think it might have been too quick?
Well, I just think I just didn't have enough material. Like, it was, as soon as I booked that, people were like, okay, you ready to go on a headlining stand-up tour? And I'm like, I have like 25 minutes. I have like maybe 30. Like, I'm not ready to go headline nationwide. But I still kept I wasn't making any money really doing stand-up other than like a couple $100 to drive, an hour outside of town and do some bar show. So I still had my job at the Improv, and then an executive, I think at NBC, came in and was like, wait, you're Adam Devine, the New Faces from Montreal? And I'm like, yes, here's your ticket. And he goes, you can't work here. And I'm like, why not? This is my job. This is like, this is how I get paid money. I don't get paid anything. And he essentially was like, the industry will view you as less than if they see you taking tickets. But just go get a job in the Valley working at Best Buy and continue to do stand-up. And so I quit my job then. And
so you said before, I used to work with some people who I thought, these are the funniest people I've ever met in my life. And now they're not even in the business because they weren't willing to do the 15 shows a week and stay out until 4 a.m., driving around the country doing shows and staying up late to finish that script. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. I was like, especially when I first started and I was working at the Improv, and you see the best and brightest. Like, that's where the Comedy Store, that's where the funniest people in America, they come to. And the East Coast has its thing too, in New York, but in LA, it's the Comedy Store and it's the Improv. And the funniest people in the world, they come there, they develop there. And I really saw, by working there for a few years, people come in, they come in hot, but they don't put in the work, so they don't grow fast enough. And then they get stagnant, and then they don't take off, and I saw people taking off, and those were the people that
you
did
were
the
conscious
work.
of that even at that age.
It was great for me because I was just the door guy. I was kind of in the cut, and so I was able to see everything unfold, and I wasn't really part of it until I got new faces, and then suddenly everyone who I was just the door guy is now looking at me like, well, I didn't get new faces. How did the door guy get new faces? And then suddenly I was like kind of in the club a little bit.
To what extent will you still occasionally get a one-track mind when it comes to work where you're just hyper-focused? And you said before, at least back in the day when you would do that, it would almost be to the detriment of other aspects in your life?
Yeah, I think especially early on, it was like I didn't want any real relationships. And I would even tell my girlfriends, which was like, looking back, I'm like, this is psycho behavior. This is psychotic.
What would
I
you
would
say?
say my career is number one. I'm gonna miss a birthday. I'm gonna miss Valentine's Day. I'm gonna have shows. I'm gonna be on the road. I'll miss things. And it's not because I don't like you or I'm not into you, but that's my number one thing right now.
And you were how old then?
20 to 25.
I mean,
or maybe even longer, like through the beginning of Workaholics, I would say.
You think you could have done it another way and achieved the same success?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, you almost have to be singularly
You have to be, yeah.
committed.
Especially in this business, it's just hard, man. It's like, it's hard to launch. It's hard to get things to click, and when they do, you have to be willing to drop everything and be hyper focused on that one thing, and like everything else kind of is put on the back burner.
The affirmations that you'll occasionally shout out to yourself are what? And you still do it today, or
No, I don't really.
that was a thing at one point, right?
I mean, maybe I would be like you can do it, like believe in yourself. That when I'm just like in the car, I would like say to myself, or like in the morning when I'm like getting ready, I'm like, you could do it.
Yep.
But and it's just like, just to hype yourself up, man,
Yep.
because you can. This business has a way to like kick you in the teeth when you have a great show one night and then the very next night you eat and bomb and you're like, why? I did the same material, but today I sucked and yesterday I was great. And you just have to be confident and have some belief in yourself, or else you're just going to quit.
I have to imagine one of the all-time highs was getting the call that Workaholics got the green light.
Dude, was...
Like, take me to that moment and what you recall.
Yeah, it was, I was in we got two calls. I got the call saying that they want to make a pilot. And I was actually in the middle of doing, and this would be interesting to find. I don't even know if you could find it because I don't remember the magazine. It was like a local, like, Venice newspaper, like a Venice Weekly type thing.
Well,
And-
look, we tried to get the video you taped for your 16-year-old high school.
Oh, really?
But
It's hard to find.
She said she didn't have it
Oh,
anymore.
good, thank God.
Tried.
Good, thank God. But yeah, I was in the middle of an interview, my first ever interview. I did a stand-up show on the west side in like Venice, and I did really well. And she was like, I write for the Venice, and I want to do a piece on you. And she was like saying I'm like the next Jim Carrey, and it was like the very fluff piece of how great I was. And I'm like, ooh, this is fantastic.
And
my first
Jim Carrey was your guy.
Oh yeah. And then I get the call saying we got Workaholics, or we got the pilot at least. And it suddenly felt like everything was kicked into gear. And yeah, it was a wild ride. Of course, then it took like almost 2 years for the show to actually come out. We filmed the pilot. It took a while for them to agree to green light it, and then we shot all 10 episodes, and then it took another like 6 months, or even longer. I think it took like 8 or 10 months for the show to actually air. So for like a year, when I'm on stage, I'm telling people like, and bring me up, he has his own show on Comedy Central coming up. And then my friends were saying like, dude, it's okay that you don't have a show. Like, you've been saying this for almost a year now, and there's no show. It's okay that you don't. They thought I was like a lunatic, just going like, just say I have a show. And they're like, it's okay. And I'm like, I do. I swear I do. You know, friends is a loose term, like the guys that are at the comedy club.
That show was almost baptism by fire because you guys are like reading books on how to write scripts.
Yeah.
As you were writing the script for Workaholics.
Yeah. Anders, he knew how to write a script. Mm-hmm. That was his thing. He considered himself a writer first. When Blake and I definitely saw ourselves more as performers first, writers second. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't know how to write. And Durs had only written a few things before this, so it's not like he was a pro or anything. And so he like gave us some books. He was like, read these. So we're reading these at night, and then during the day, we were running our own room and like had all these, and we hired all these like really smart people, these Harvard guys, and then these community college dropouts are being like, I think we should do this. And they're like, these kids are idiots. But
did you get that sense at the time?
No, because I mean, Blake's super funny, and I think I'm a pretty funny guy, and I think that they all thought the reason that they signed up to do the show was they thought that our pilot that we made, because we made a pilot on our own, mm-hmm. and then we gave that to Comedy Central, and then they greenlit the show. And so I think everyone thought it was funny, so there must be something to this.
Your reaction when a pause was put on the Workaholics movie?
Oh, gutted, dude. Oh, that sucked. That was the worst. I come downstairs. It was during the rains. My house is flooding. Like, my roof in this home was, like, caving in. And I'm like, oh, God, we're, like, going to have to get that fixed. And then I get a call from my manager, who has no tact. And he's like, dude, this sucks. They're not doing the movie. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they're not doing it. All right, see ya, I got to call the other guys. And I'm like, what the hell, man? And
it was like 5 weeks before.
It was 5 weeks before we were about to start shooting. We were building sets. We had hired the crew. The cast was all lined up to do everything. And it was like, it sucked for us, and it really sucked for all the crew members that, like, they had planned on this job, and so now they have to scramble to get new work in just a few weeks. So it sucked for everybody involved. Paramount Plus. I'm looking at you.
Would you ever buy the rights to it and try and
I can't afford the rights, man. They're holding that thing hostage. And I mean, I would love to. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, they, for whatever reason, are just holding on to it, and they won't let us take it anywhere. They won't let us shop it. We were like, well, what if we can get Netflix to buy it? And they tried, and I guess they didn't want to sell the rights. They wanted to lease it to them. And they're like, well, we want to buy, we don't just want to lease the rights, so we pay the amount of money it would cost to make the movie, and then we only get to put it on our platform for 2 years or whatever. They're like, that's not a good deal for us, so.
Which is one of the infuriating aspects of the business, right?
Because it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Was it the Full House or Family Matters song?
It's Full House, but it sounds exactly like Family Matters.
Okay.
So for Pitch Perfect, I didn't know, realistically, I did not know that it was a singing movie.
You thought it was a baseball movie?
I thought it was a baseball movie, Pitch Perfect. It sounds like a baseball movie. That being said, if I read the damn email, I would have figured it out. But I showed up, I looked at the sides. The reason it was so hectic and I didn't know that it was a singing movie was I was shooting Workaholics, and they're like, they want you to read for this. You can go on your lunch break and we can move a scene around and you'll have time to come back. And I'm like, I don't want to go audition for something else when in the middle of the show that I'm one of the executive producers, creators of, and it was season 1.
And some of your buddies also did not want you to do this.
And I was like, I don't even want to go audition for this thing, this cool baseball movie. And I show up, I read the sides. I'm like, this doesn't seem like a baseball movie at all. And I'm pretty good at memorization, so I was able to quickly memorize it. And I go in, I do the audition, realizing it's not a baseball movie. And they're like, what song did you prepare? And I'm like, I didn't prepare a song. And they're like, we'll just sing something that you know all the words to. And the first song that popped in my head was, whatever happened to predictability? The mailman, the paperboy, the evening TV. And I got the movie, dude. I have no idea, because I sing like Rihanna in the movie. I'm like, please don't stop the music. I'm like, why did they think me singing like a 60-year-old jazz singer from New Orleans or wherever that guy's from that sang that song would make a good singer in the movie? But I don't know, I booked it.
What did you film on stage in front of a sold-out stand-up crowd for Warner Brothers that helped in securing the Mike and Dave?
Oh, yeah. So I was on tour, and
you wanted this bad.
I wanted Mike and Dave.
But
I was
you
like,
maybe weren't I don't know if you were not the first choice initially, but you needed some extra encouragement.
yeah. Well, at first they were like, you're not big enough to be Mike in this big movie. Like, sorry, you're just not there yet. And like, maybe the cousin. And I'm like, dude, I'm Mike. I'm telling you, I'm Mike. And I'm talking to the executive producers of the movie. I'm like, I'm Mike.
And what gives you that confidence in those situations?
I'm delusional. You gotta be. You gotta just be like, I'm the guy. And they're like, you're not the guy. And you're like, watch this. And then they're like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna figure out what you're gonna watch, and you're gonna like it. And I auditioned, and it went great. And they were like, it was between me and one other person, and I did a read, like a chemistry test with me and Zac Efron, and it went great. And it was like right there, whether it's going to be the other guy or me. And I was on tour, and I know the head of the studio didn't know who I was. Was like, I'm unfamiliar with this guy. Obviously, she doesn't watch Workaholics. Nerd. And she didn't watch Workaholics. And so I was like, all right. So I filmed the entire crowd chanting Mike and Dave. And it sounded, the lights were low. It was like 2,000 people, but it sounded like 20,000 people. They were so loud. And it was like, everyone was like, Mike and Dave, Mike and Dave. And we pan around me, and I'm like, I'm gonna be Mike. I know I am. And I think I might have called her name out or something. And I sent that to them. It was the weekend that they were making their decision. And then Monday morning, I was still on tour. I got the call that I got it, and lost my mind. It was awesome.
Who called?
I think my manager,
Okay.
Isaac, yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, sometimes he has good things to call me about. He's
There
sitting
you
over
go,
there,
Isaac.
yeah.
You've alluded to the cement truck on a couple of occasions. I think you're 11 years old. This is 95. I think the thing's, like 42 tons drags you.
Something like that, yeah.
What's the last memory you have?
Yeah, I think the last memory I have was leaving my house, telling my mom we were gonna go get candy, because we were gonna go to the convenience store and get candy. And what we also would do was we'd rip out pages of like Playboy and Penthouse, Dirty Dogs, magazines, and we'd rip out the pages and stuff them. I don't know why we didn't just steal the whole magazine. I guess we thought in our little kid brain that was much, much worse to steal an entire magazine. So we would just rip out pages. But so we were on our way to do that, and from that moment on, I don't remember anything that happened, but I'm told that when we get to this busy street in Omaha, Harrison Street, there was 3 cement trucks going up the hill and 2 were coming down, or maybe it was the opposite, but cement trucks going up the hill, cement trucks coming down the hill, because we lived in the suburbs and just new houses are popping up everywhere. And my friend is already across the street, and he yells, "Come on." And that just means I'm excited to go get a razzmatazz sucker and see some boobs, But I took that as coast is clear. And so I was like, okay, so come on. And I walked out, and I got clobbered and taken under the wheel and spit out, and I flew like 500 feet, they said. and was helicoptered away and
Ripped the skin off your leg essentially from the
ripped
knees
the
down.
skin.
Yep.
Yeah. Exclusive. Graham exclusive.
How long did it take to get?
Looks like uncooked chicken. If you look at it, doesn't that look like uncooked chicken? Yeah.
How long did it take to get the legs back to normal?
I mean, they're still messed up. I still like deal with things.
Like you can't remember a time where the legs weren't in pain, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your mom was telling me you had to relearn to sit, stand, walk, run. Explain what you guys would do in the backyard, like where you would practice.
We had a little chair that they'd wheel me in the backyard because they figured like if I'm gonna fall, at least the grass is a little softer. And I had like a chair that I'd practice like standing up from, and you try to take a few steps, and then we would lay like pillows down so like if I fell, I could land on a pillow.
And even going to school, like how to just use the bathroom at the time when you got there, because you couldn't walk for like what, couple years and.
Yeah, I couldn't walk from 6th grade, all of 6th grade, all of 7th grade, and then 8th grade is when all 7th grade I would get up to a walker, and then I'd have to have another surgery, and then I'd be back down in a wheelchair, and then I'd get up to the walker, and then I'd get up to crutches, and I'm like, it's gonna happen.
And crutches, that was a big deal.
Yeah, and then I'd have to have another surgery, and then I'd go back, and I was having surgeries every few weeks.
You had like 26?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, and then that has gone up more, because I've had maybe a dozen since then, just like little things that have happened.
You remember thinking to yourself, like, will I ever walk again?
Yeah, for sure. But also like, you can't help but think that because you can't walk, and you're like, am I ever gonna be able to walk?
But then here's your mom who took a break from the dental assistant job to be there, who's, Captain Positive.
She's so positive, and it was nice having that, and just, I kind of always thought I would. Like, she was always just drilling that in my head, like, it's all gonna be fine, you're gonna be okay, it's all gonna work out, we're gonna get through this. I know it's hard now, but we're gonna get through this. And I think by thinking that way, things do work out. Because even when something bad happens, she's able to spin it into a positive, which I think is something that I have been able to take from her. And I think that's, like, I was hit by a cement truck, and I'm like, I was able to spin it in a positive. Like, I wouldn't have this career if I wasn't hit by that cement truck,
You think so?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I wouldn't have even thought it would be possible to move out here. But after I was hit by the cement truck and then relearned how to walk and do everything that I had to do, and like the step by tiny step to get back to being an able-bodied person, I think I was able to have the confidence in myself to move out here. When before, we didn't know anyone in California,
yep.
So I think it just would have been a crazy thought to even entertain. And also my parents, I was hit by the cement truck, so they're like, you're good, whatever, you didn't die. If you want to move to California and just obviously be a burnout.
You think they thought that?
I know you're going to move to Venice and grow white guy dreadlocks and just have dirty feet and just scat everywhere you go. That's what I'm sure my dad thought was going to happen.
Was there a moment that was kind of the biggest turning point during that recovery process?
I don't really remember it was such a slow, steady, like, now I'm on crutches,
yeah.
and then now I can sort of walk, but in my house, to where I knew I could get from my desk to my bed because that's 5 steps and I could fall into the bed. And then in the hallway, I knew that I could, if I needed to, I could brace myself. And then from there, you get walking around the house good enough, and then you're like, okay, let's take it to the streets. And then I'd be in school in the wheelchair and be like, okay, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna walk from here to that desk, and then I could sit down.
And classmates were pretty good, right? And you had a buddy that, there was one kid that was a bit of a but you had a buddy that kind of had permission to be like your bodyguard. Of sorts.
Dude. I had a bunch of friends that were sort of my little bit of a protector, but it was great. Even though middle school kids can be viciously mean, you will never be more hated than if you beat up the crippled kid, and I knew that. So like, I was talking my dude.
Were you?
Yeah, man.
Like, what would you say?
Try to take me down. I got freaking quips. I would like write notebooks full of like epic slams to make fun of someone. If
genuinely,
specifically if like a kid were to make fun of me about XYZ, I would write like a little bit. I can't really remember any now. But
do you still have the notebooks?
No,
okay.
I asked my mom where it is, and I've looked. Because I'm like, were they good? I remember being like, you know, you drop a bomb on someone the 6th grade lunch table, and everyone's like, oh, Adam, the crippled kid just took him down. I'm like, what's up? Try to swing on me, bitch. I know you won't. I know you won't. I'm crippled.
What stands out from calling into the edge?
Oh, man, that was the best. That was the best. You did your research.
We try.
Graham, you dog. I think I consider that maybe my like break into Hollywood.
Why?
I would call into this radio station, 101.9, The Edge, and I would call in and I would do different characters and different impressions, but everything was like Omaha specific, and it became like a local hit on the radio station, and they were like, we want you to be part of the drive time hour. And so my mom loaded me into the minivan, drove me downtown, unloaded me, got me in my wheelchair. My legs were extended because my legs couldn't bend at that point. So I'm like wheeling in like this, and they were like, oh, we can't hire you. You're a crippled child. We thought you were an adult man who was just a funny person. We can't. But they paid me in concert tickets and any giveaway that the radio station had, and any CD. So, you want to hook up on Goo Goo Dolls? You want Lit? Do you want Live? Do you want 7 Mary 3 CDs? I got you covered, Graham.
You were pretty big into, you saw the Foo Fighters a bunch too, from what I understand.
I got Foo Fighters, man.
And then the video rental store hooked you up.
Oh yeah,
a bit too.
Yeah. Main Street Movies in Omaha. They would, from the accident, everybody was like, we got to give this kid something. He's fully crippled, hit by a cement truck. That's a funny truck to get hit by. We got to hook him up. So
I mean, good for the town though, on a serious note, and kind of rallying.
Yeah, it was awesome, and the people of Omaha are grade A people.
Lived in Iowa before moved. Right before the accident.
I moved when I was, I think 10 from Waterloo, Iowa. And just Midwestern people are great. In Omaha specific, they're fantastic. And in the movie rental, Main Street Movies gave me as many rentals as I wanted. So I rented every comedy movie imaginable and every action movie imaginable. And we watched so many movies that they ended up revoking it after a couple years. They're like, okay, we gave you enough movies. We said for a lifetime, but you're good.
So we've profiled comedians before on the show, and oftentimes there's something really challenging in the past or painful that has connectivity to why they chose their career. And I guess I wonder, have you ever thought about if what you went through then, there's a direct line between that and choosing to make people laugh for a profession?
Yeah, I don't know if it was like, I'm going to take this pain and turn it into laughter, but I think...
taught you the resilience you spoke about.
And I think I always just loved comedy, and I was like, I thought I was a freak athlete, Graham. I thought I was going to the big leagues, baby.
You wanted to be pro baseball player.
I wanted to be a pro baseball player.
Never made the basketball team, although you got the shoes every year.
Oh yeah, yes. But I wanted to be a baseball player, and I was like, I was a good little kid baseball player, but you're in 4th grade, so how good actually are you? And but that was my dream. And then But then after the accident, obviously I couldn't be a professional baseball player. I couldn't walk. So I knew that dream was dead. And that was hard. But I loved comedy so much. And then when I got on the radio station and I was making people laugh, like making adults laugh, I would do it. And my mom, I remember she was getting her hair done and the radio station was on. And it comes on and my bit is playing and the people are laughing in the hair salon. And my mom's like, that's my son! That's my son!
Yeah.
And it was just such a good feeling that like I was making people laugh and I was doing something that people enjoyed. And so essentially that was like the launching point of like, oh, I can actually do this. This could be something that I could do, that I can write comedy now, and then when I'm able to stand, I can stand up and do comedy.
So I know at some point recently, because of stuff connected to your injuries, there was like, you only had to go a few blocks, but you could walk a block, then you had to take a taxi a couple blocks, or there's
it's been
back
a nightmare.
or joints or groin, hip ligament, and back.
Yeah.
Like what's going on there?
They don't really know, and I was having spasms all over, and I still kind of do. They don't really know. For a while, they told me I was dying. Literally within this last year, they told me that. They told me I have this disease called stiff person syndrome, and that's when your muscles get so tight that you can no longer walk, you can no longer move, then your heart will stop beating because your heart is a muscle, and it gets too tight to beat, and then you die. And so essentially the average life expectancy is 6 years for someone that has it. And they told me that I have that literally a month before my son, Bo, was born. And so I'm like, oh, great, now I'm gonna die. He's gonna be 6 years old. He's only gonna know a crippled father. And then they told me, we think you might not have that. And then 6 months go by, then they're like, and it wasn't getting much better. And I could only walk a few blocks before I'd get so tight that I couldn't really move anymore. And they're like, we actually do think you have it. Go see the guy that coined the phrase stiff person syndrome. He's the expert in the field. And so I went and saw him, and he's like, you don't have it. You do not have it. He's like, this is from your accident from when you were a child. The spasms are a little unexplainable, but it could just be you got so tight that your body doesn't know what to do with it. So you're misfiring a little bit. And essentially during the pandemic, I worked out so much. I was so bored.
You would cycle all the time, right?
I have sort of the personality that I have to do things 110%. I can't just, when I do stand-up, I have to do it all day, every day. It has to be my life. When I'm doing a movie, I have to be all in on the movie, on the project. Whatever it is, I kind of do.
Even if it's a favorite food or song.
Yes, if it's a favorite food, I have to, like I went through a rotisserie chicken string, or I went through a rotisserie chicken phase. I ate so much rotisserie chicken. I ate it every day. One day, this is too much information, Graham, but whatever, let's get dirty. And I went and I was taking and I thought I had a tapeworm coming out of me. And I was like, oh God, what is that? And I'm like, oh. And I pull and I pull and I pull, and it's still coming out. I'm like, this is the grossest thing that's ever happened. Like, why am I not skinnier? I had a tapeworm coming out of me, and I pull it out. It's a chicken string, Graham. A rotisserie chicken string. I ate the rotisserie chicken so fast that I ate the string that holds it together. So I'm that way, and if I hear a song that I like, I'll just play that song incessantly until other people are like, play another damn song. And I'm like, this is my favorite song right now. I'm gonna play it 3,000 times. So I'm just that way. So what was I saying?
So you were talking about during the pandemic, exercising constantly and the connectivity to
so during the pandemic,
what your health was.
Yeah, during the pandemic, I just got into cycling and CrossFit. And so I had all the time in the world. So I'd ride the bike 40, 45 miles a day, and then I would do a CrossFit workout, which is super intense, jumping, lifting weights over my head. And I think I just got so tight and so tightly wound that my body is has all these things that are a little wonky and a little wrong with it, that I just sort of snapped. And I think I'm still dealing with it. It's been 3 years now.
And what are you dealing with now?
Like, it hurts to sit for too long. It hurts to stand for too long. It hurts to walk for too long. I have to foam roll 2 or 3 times a day. I have to do stretches 2 or 3 times a day.
How'd the stem cells in Colombia?
You know, I think they're kind of working. I don't know. I'm the best I've been now for the past 3 years. I'm the best that I like right now. I think is the best I've been, because it's been like, oh, I'm doing good, and then for whatever reason, I'll tighten back up, or something will stiffen, or and then all of a sudden I can't walk, can't do the things that I normally could do. But I went and got stem cells in Medellin, Colombia, and I got them in my knees and my hips and my back, and I really think it's working. And I had multiple hip surgeries last year because I was told that it was my hips before we kind of got the diagnosis of it was just from your accident. They're like, yeah, your hips are a little messed up, but it shouldn't be causing this amount of pain. And I was just in so much pain that I'm like, well, let's figure this out. Give me hip surgeries. So I had 2 hip surgeries.
And you said hip replacements and knee replacements are inevitable eventually.
Yeah, probably down the line I'm going to be
what's the goal, though, with all the,
to be fully bionic? Yeah, just to have fully fake legs.
But just like the goals to just figure out how to best ease the pain.
Yeah. And, it's sort of now when I'm thinking about movies that I want to do, I was always like, I want to be an action star, because those are the movies that I liked growing up, is action and comedy. I'm like, I want to be a comedy action star. And now I'm like, I'm going to be the comedy guy in the action movie with an action star, and he does all the action stuff. But I really wanted to be the guy that does it all, because I like doing stunts. I think it's cool. But now I'm sort of trying to walk that line and see what I can do and what I can't.
I want to run through some luminaries you've crossed paths with over the years.
Okay.
The first one being, and just kind of get what comes to mind, the time Adam Sandler invited you to smoke a cigar.
Oh, yeah. I was working the door at the Improv, and I think he just thought I was like a nice kid. I'm standing there, and I probably was just staring at him like, oh. He's a legend, and a true hero of mine. And he's been a legend for 30 years. And so I was like enamored, and he was like, do you want to, they opened up the cigar shop next door for him and his friends to smoke cigars in. And he asked if I wanted to join. And I stood in the corner and didn't say a word, and like didn't chime in, wasn't a part of the conversation, I didn't do anything. I just was like, oh, and couldn't believe I was there. I was like 20 years old or whatever, but it was just cool to see how nice of a guy he was, that he was willing to just see some kid that is staring at him and was able to throw him the olive branch of smoking a cigar that for sure probably made me puke.
By the way, do you need to take a break for?
Watch this. Good to go.
Is that the normal routine?
Mm-hmm.
Graham, you need to do the same thing.
Yeah. Look weird. Yeah, Graham. It's your turn.
By the way, do you remember the time your parents told you not to have anybody over at the house, and then you don't listen and the dog greets the parents when you come back?
No.
No, your mom was telling me this yesterday. Apparently the dog had a condom.
Oh, yeah. Well, she told the story wrong. It was, I had sex with my girlfriend, high school girlfriend, and I had a condom, and she told me I can't throw that away at the house. And it was a banana flavored condom. And so I'm like, I'm gonna throw it away. But I put it in my pencil pouch of my backpack, bad place to put the condom. And I go home and I have to go to I'm like, oh, I gotta throw that condom away. I was gonna throw it away on the way home, but I forgot. And I opened it up, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. So no one was home, and I go to the bathroom. My parents come home, and I hear my dog, like, playing. I go back, and I'm looking for the condom, and I hear my dog playing with something, and my mom goes, "What you got there, Maggie?"
Oh no!
"What you got there?" And she goes, "Oh my God, Adam!" And I'm like, "Huh?" And she comes marching down the hallway, and she's holding it, and she's like, "What is this? What is this?" And I go, "It's a condom." And she goes, "Is this yours?" And I go, "No." And she goes, "Yes, it is." And I go, "No." But I knew that she knew that I have condoms and probably was having sex with my girlfriend. And I go, "No." I wasn't ready to own up to the condom. So I go, "No, mine wasn't yellow like a banana. Mine was red like an apple." "What? What kind of cover is that, dude? Red like an apple?" And she was like, "It's disgusting." And then that poor woman. And then she washed her hands, I'm sure, I hope. And then she's down in the laundry room, and she's crying. I have to go be like, "I'm so sorry." I wasn't sorry, but she's like, I'm like, "Come here." And she's like, "You're not my little boy anymore." I'm like, "That's right, I'm a man. I'm a man."
All right, so we were talking about folks or luminaries you've crossed paths with, somebody you've worked with on a number of occasions, Zac Efron. Did he ever end up staying here?
No, dude. He calls me, there's a few, maybe 6 months ago now, but he was like, we're on this text chain, me, Aubrey, Anna, and Zach, and our director, Jake Szymanski. And so Anna Kendrick, Aubrey Plaza, Zac Efron, Jake Szymanski, and myself, we're on this text chain. For whatever reason, I think Mike and Dave is airing a lot on TV, and it's on Max or something, and people are watching it a lot now. And so we were texting like, "Oh yeah, so just ran into someone, they told us about Mike and Dave. Yeah, oh yeah, this happened to me. And then Zach calls me, hasn't called me in a couple years, and calls me out of the blue. He's on some private island somewhere, and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to let you know that I miss you." And I'm like, "I miss you too, dude. You're a good friend of mine, yada yada." And he's like, "You still have that place down by the beach?" And I'm like, "I do." And he's like, "Would it be cool if I came and crashed with you for 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, come stay with me." And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna call you tomorrow to get all the details, and then I'll be there early next week, okay? And then you'll send me the address and all that." I'm like, "All right." And so I come back in, I'm like, "Chloe, I think Zach's gonna come live here with us for a couple weeks, I don't know." And she's like, "Okay, yeah, I guess so." And then he ghosted me, dude. Never called back. I even texted him like, "Are you gonna stay here?" And haven't talked with him since. So I have no idea, dude. No idea.
Neighbors premiere. You're at an after party in a hotel room. Set the scene and tell about crossing paths with Danny McBride.
Yeah, so I'm at this after party of the movie, and we're in like a hotel room, and so Seth Rogen is obviously the star of the movie. We had a little cameo in the movie, and
You and Seth like to have fun.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to go toe to toe with Seth smoking weed, and I can smoke weed, but I can't smoke weed like Seth Rogen. Obviously, no, dude. I mean, he's a chimney. He's just like that's how his air that he breathes is weed smoke.
And you prefer booze or weed?
I like them both.
Okay.
I like them both, Graham. But I can't smoke like him, you know. And so I'm going toe to toe, and I'm like cross-eyed. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing great." And then through the smoke emerges the legend that is Danny McBride, and he's on my Mount Rushmore of comedy heroes. Like, he's fantastic. I love the guy.
And why? Like what
I just
made
think
him
he's
that for you?
Well, Eastbound and Down and Foot Fist Way, his movie that he made before Eastbound and Down. I remember we watched it when we were still doing sketches, me and the Workaholics guys, and we were doing sketches, and Anders comes in and on our day that we would write the sketches, Wednesdays, and he came in and was like, we have to watch this movie. He had a friend that was an agent, and he was like, these guys, evidently this is the movie that's the talk of Hollywood. And we're like, okay. And so we watched the movie, and then we watched it right back. And then from there, we were like, those guys seem like us. Like, it's not like Will Ferrell seems bigger than life. He was on SNL. He was like part of the machine that is SNL, and then they launched. We kind of thought you had to do something else before you could get your shot. Mm-hmm. And he, for us, Danny was the blueprint of how to go about it outside of the system. So Danny emerges from this cloud of smoke, and I'm so excited to meet him, and he's a hero of mine. So I go, "You're Danny McBride." And he's like, "I know." And I don't know why I thought this was a cool thing to say to him, or even a thing to say to anyone. I go, "You're a bright shooting star." That's what I said to Danny McBride. "You're a bright shooting star." And he goes, "Yeah, man." And I grabbed my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "We have to leave." And she's like, "Why? I'm having fun." And I go, "I just called Danny McBride a bright shooting star." And she's like, "You're right. Let's go. Let's get out of here."
So did you think when you realized you could be up for Righteous Gemstones, there was any shot? Or
Yeah, well, it kind of came out of the blue. They were like, "Hey, they're interested in you for Righteous Gemstones, this show that Dan McBride is putting together." And I'm like,
now, did you have that in the back of your head?
Oh, dude, I was like, me? He's thinking about me? I called him a bright shooting star. He's going to think I'm a total nerd. And luckily, Danny, I think, was also pretty stoned at this party, because he doesn't really he kind of remembers it, but he was like, "Yeah, I don't remember you being as awkward as you think you were." So I'm like, thank God. But because in my head, I was like, "Oh, you're a bright shooting star," you know, and in his head, I was like, "What's up, Danny? Nice to meet you." So thank God. And then I got offered Righteous Gemstones, and here we are, 4 seasons later.
Okay, so you talked about this before. You like to have a good time. Mm-hmm. You'll burn the candle at both ends.
Sure.
Ever get to be too much?
Not yet. You know, it's different now because I have a 1-year-old son. So you just can't, there's no, like, hangovers suck now. They used to kind of suck, but you're like, well, whatever, you just go get brunch.
You had a cure with the curtains.
The what?
You had some blackout.
I'm black. Every room I'm in has to be blacked out. But yeah, I'm like, you just deal with it. It's totally fine. And I don't really get that bad of hangovers, but when a child wakes you up at 6 a.m. and, like, we used to bring him in between the two of us early in the mornings, and hopefully he would go back to sleep and we could get another 30 or 40 minutes. But now he's like, like, goes over the pillow and he just smiles in your face, and you're like, one, you just feel horrible. You're like, I'm a dirtbag for being hungover in front of this sweet, innocent baby. And two, you just don't, you have responsibilities now. So now I don't nearly party like I used to.
But in fairness to you too, you were conscious enough of where that line is, or was even back then, right? I mean, because you talked about, you know, your peers who you saw at the comedy club back in the day who wouldn't grind like you, like that.
Oh,
obviously,
sure,
it's something that you were always aware of, where's the.
Well, my mom, they never really minded that I smoked weed, like, because I even smoked in high school. And they were just like, we don't want you to be a burnout. Like, that was my mom's biggest fear. She's like, don't be a burnout. Like, have ambition. Like, go after your dreams. So that was always in the back of my head of, like, you can have fun, but handle your like, and pick your spots too. Like, I was never the type of guy that would wake up and smoke weed all day long, or drink all day long, or whatever it was all day long. It was like, no, I have stuff to do, so I'll smoke weed when I'm done with the stuff that I have to do.
Exercise has also been a pretty consistent theme in your life.
Let's just say I'm a freak athlete.
You flexible?
Is that what that is?
You hired Chris Pratt's trainer at one point, right?
I did,
How'd
yeah.
that
I
go?
had his trainer, I had his nutritionist. I'm like, do whatever you did to that schlub to turn him into that. I want you to do that to me. And
it work out?
they failed. They failed with me. But no, I that was during Mike and Dave, and I got in great shape. I just didn't want to be. I'm Zac Efron's older brother. I just didn't want to be his fat older brother. You know, I wanted it to look like we might be in the same gene pool. And that's just kind of how it goes for me. I'll get in like really good shape, and then I'll let it go for a couple years, and then tighten it back up. And I always kind of want to be within a few months of being in good shape.
You really will feel like you'll let it go?
I never let it go to where you're like, woo!
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, I'll you know, eat and drink too much over the holidays or whatever, and then rein it back in.
How's having a kid changed your life?
It hasn't. Piece of cake. It's the best. You know, I kind of thought I would like it, but I love it way more than I thought I would.
Really?
I knew I would like it, just because I like kids and I like playing with kids. I'm like, it seems like it'd be a fun thing, but it's like I get such a kick out of it. It's just the best, and especially now that he's like 1 and he has like a real personality. And
I was gonna say, like, what makes it better than you expected?
He's just so much fun to kick it with. He's like a funny guy, and he will like do little bits with you. He's hilarious. Like this guy, I'm gonna mold him, Graham, to be the funniest little guy. I'm like gonna stick him on the improv stage at like 3, and he's like, ah. I can't wait. I'm just so excited for him to grow up.
If he came to you one day and it's like, Dad, I want to do comedy.
People that, actors or comedians or whoever that are like, I would never let my child be in this business. I'm like, well, then you don't like your job. I think it's the best job in the world. I'm like, I'm living my dream life with my dream family, and I have the best job in the world. Like, why wouldn't you want that for your child?
We can end there.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, this is fun.
It was pretty painless, right?
Yeah.
Anything I did not ask that?
No, you covered the jizz in the bathtub.
Oh,
So that was important
What
for me
I
to
left
get.
out was when your parents went to watch a DVD in their bedroom. Do you hear that story?
No, what is that?
They realized another DVD was in there, and your mom said it was called Boobs, Boobs, Boobs.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, there you go.